with an Onnit podcast with my man from the Mean Green University of North Texas. What's going on? How you doing, Frank?
Doing real well, thank you.
Right on. So you were here. You became a fan of Onnit and kind of what we were doing, and kept in touch with us. And this is your first time to come down and visit and see what we're all about and kind of cross two worlds. Now, your official title with the Mean Green is Director of Football Performance.
That's
so kind of like strength and conditioning mixed with the skill work, and basically been an integral part of turning this team around a little bit from losing records to winning records, and implementing some unconventional ideas into a very conventional system. So a man after our own heart. So
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit of your story, like, you coming in, what your background was, and then follow us through a little bit with what you've done with the team.
Yeah, I'm a graduate of Kentucky Wesleyan College in Owensboro, Kentucky. Played ball there for 3 years.
What position?
Middle linebacker.
All right.
Yeah, two-time All-American while I was there.
Yeah, buddy.
And had a lot of fun playing and learned a lot, met some great people that are still friends of mine to this day. So it was always a special experience. Got my first opportunity to coach at Hardin-Simmons University in Abilene, Texas.
You've just named two colleges that I've never heard of, by the way, which is
small.
hard.
They're small, real small. So, humble beginnings, humble roots. But learned an awful lot. Worked under Jimmy Keeling there, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and just a phenomenal man and a phenomenal mentor. Taught me a lot about coaching, just being able to get to kids and learn kids and understand your athletes. And I think that molded a lot of who I am today as a coach.
Sure.
Had a great opportunity to intern at Arizona State University under Joe Ken, the Big House. He's the head strength coach at the Carolina Panthers now.
Wow.
But at the time, he was the head strength coach for the Arizona State University Sun Devils. And went out there and interned, and just the right combination of right place at the right time with the right people, and worked my ass off, and got offered a full-time position. So you go from a Division III graduate assistant to a Pac-10 full-time assistant strength coach. It was a pretty big leap for me. Learned an awful lot there. So much of who I am as a coach, the way I program using the tier system, and the things that Coach Ken developed there.
Tier system, like make them work out till they cry?
No, tier is in T-I-E-R.
Okay.
Basically, it's a total body.
Because that's what I do to Orlando. I use the tier system.
Yeah.
When he starts crying, that's when that's when he can put down the steel mace.
Yeah.
At that point.
But the tier system is actually really one of the probably most groundbreaking athletic development systems in the country right now as far as strength and conditioning goes, because it basically, instead of going on a 4-day split where you're going upper lower,
like
upper lower,
biceps one
back
day,
and by, chest and try. Forgot about legs though while we were in there doing all that.
What was that word you said? Legs?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
It's a 3-day-a-week total body program as far as your lifting goes, and basically you rotate total lower and upper body movements. So your Olympic lifts, your lower body movements, your upper body movements rotate priorities throughout the week to where you're able to basically do twice as much work as you would if you'd done a 4-day split.
Sure.
So it's a pretty unique program, very outside the box thinking, but that was where I got my start.
And that developed at Arizona State.
At Arizona State. He actually started developing at Boise when he was at Boise with Coach Cutter, Dirk Cutter. And when Coach Cutter got the head job.
And this is the coach that's now at Carolina.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. But I learned an awful lot from him. One of his assistants left and got the head job at Utah State and brought me with him. His opportunity to be basically like a number 2 guy. I spent 2 years at Utah State, worked with 14 different sports on both sides, men's and women's sports. Learned an awful lot there, met even more great people, and then got the opportunity to take the head job at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina.
What position? So number 2. So you're like working overall in the athletic department, strength and conditioning. That's kind of interesting. Does that happen at most universities?
Yeah, usually there's a head guy, and then he'll have like a right-hand man that'll be.
So each team doesn't have its own strength and conditioning guy.
You'll cover usually, like when I was there, I oversaw 14 different sports, and I had 2 GAs that helped me with that. So.
Wow, because that's quite the gamut. I mean, you got swimmers. You got, where is it, Utah? I don't know. What do they got? Field hockey out there?
No, we had swimming, men's, women's basketball, track and field, gymnastics was a successful sport, tennis, golf, football, obviously. So, but yeah, it is quite the gamut, and it is one of those deals where you've got to become the great chameleon and work with a lot of different sports and put on a lot of different hats and always think outside the box. Like what I was doing with my track kids would have been completely inappropriate with what I was doing with my gymnastics kids. And so
Right.
you've really got to look at the demands of the sport, not only biomechanically and bioenergetically, but you also have to consider what the injuries are going to be and how can we work around the injuries, and what are some of the
How to bulletproof for those
Exactly.
potential risks.
Exactly. And what are some things that we can do as coaches to help prepare the athletes for what they've got to do, not just this block of training, but 4 or 5 years from now. You know, if they're freshmen, you're going to look down the road and see what they're doing. And all those experiences working with those sports has really developed the system that I've implemented at University of North Texas with our guys.
And at University of North Texas, though, you are focused just on the football guys.
Yes, sir. That's correct. All I do is football.
Right. So explain how you've applied this tier system to the football program, and again, and how that differs from a lot of programs that are running currently.
We use a variation of the tier system. I wouldn't say that we use exactly Coach Ken's tier system as it's written, but I've modified it to fit our needs. I think
So it's better.
I wouldn't go that far because he might be listening right now. I'll get a nasty phone call.
Well, why would you change it if it wasn't better now?
Well, I think it better fits our system, and that kind of goes into what I was going to.
It's better. Okay, go ahead.
What I'm going to go into next is just talks about what makes us different. I think a lot of people look at it, and before I was at University of North Texas, I was at University of South Florida. A lot of people said, "Man, we want that program from South Florida. We want what you guys are doing." But the fact of the matter is, you don't have those kids. You don't have that facility. You don't have that coaching staff. The athletes that we were training at University of South Florida, my last year there, we graduated Jason Pierre-Paul. We graduated Nate Allen. Those are first and second round draft picks.
Right.
Guys making multi-million dollars every year to go out and play football. When I got to University of North Texas, we had 0 draft picks on our team. And so you're working with a different type of athlete, a different type of player. The facility's different. The way we are going to practice and play is going to be different. So what we need to do is make sure that the way that we train our athletes, not just physically, but psychologically as well, fits the program. And that's the biggest thing that we've really tried to do with our guys and do with our system of training, is make our system of training, the 8 months out of the year that they're not playing football, match the 4 months of the year that they are playing football.
So walk us through some of the, the workouts that you guys are basically putting these kids through. How many days a week, and what does it kind of entail? A typical, let's say, preseason kind of training program.
This summer, on June 2nd, we're going to start our off-season training with our guys, basically our summer preparatory phase. And we break our team up into 5 different groups on offense and defense. So we'll have offensive and defensive linemen will train in one group, and those guys will train specifically with me. I'll get with the offensive line coach, the defensive line coach, and we'll develop
the big boys.
The big boys. Yeah, I like working with the big guys. And we're going to get with those individual position coaches, and we're going to work on creating drills and exercises that are going to help make them better when they step out on the field. So gone are the days in our program of agility is sprint, shuffle, backpedal, or we're going to go do W drill, or we're going to go do the L drill, because that's what they do in the NFL. That isn't helping my offensive linemen get better. Those guys aren't backpedaling. Those guys aren't doing kicks, are doing slides and those other kinds of things. They're doing kick slides, they're doing power downs, they're doing duck walks, and they're doing punch and drive. They're doing a lot of different things that I need to prepare them for. So we don't want to do and introduce a bunch of training methods in the summertime that are going to be inappropriate for the way they play the game.
Right.
We want to develop motor patterns and develop habits during the off season that are going to make our guys, they're going to carry our guys over into the season. So we want
Very functional.
It's very functional, and function is a matter of what it is that they're going to do out on the field. And that's exactly what we work on.
So what about like a kicker like Orlando? What do you
So
have?
we've got, well, I mean, and we do have a guy. I have a guy on my staff.
I was going to
Jamie
ask you,
Phillips.
so I'm like 5'6", I'm 30, about 155 pounds. What
You're-
position would you put me at?
You're a
Bench?
kicker.
Absolutely,
Oh,
kicker.
kicker. All right, great.
Kicker.
Yeah, you played. Look how many
You're telling me
years
play
of
soccer.
you
You're
played.
talking about
Yeah.
soccer, so
Yeah.
definitely
He
be a
can
kicker.
totally punt it at least 35 yards.
Absolutely.
Probably.
And
minimum.
you're standing
Minimum.
at 15 yards back, so what's that
Yeah.
in net? 20 yards. That's
I
fine.
mean, at least
Sign me up.
he
Give me
could get a
scholarship,
good
I'm
roll.
in.
I don't
you know?
think Coach Perry would go for that. He wouldn't be real happy about that. But I have a coach that specifically works with kickers and punters because of the high incidence of overuse injuries. Kickers, obviously, with their hips, their hip flexors getting worn out from all the kicking they do. Quarterbacks with their shoulders and elbows.
So they probably got to fuck a lot, is what they really need to do. But they're a kicker, so it's kind of
Yeah,
like
they're not getting a lot of
weird-
play. Yeah.
It's a tough.
That's
tough
like
game.
the best position because you never get hit and you just get to have all the glory of being on the team. And then if you make the winning field goal, you're even like that much more popular.
Even that much more popular.
And you never get hit.
That's
Yeah.
you're right.
That's-
Atlanta.
I don't know
that's
if that's
why
not
all
true,
that's
though.
why all the kids just dream of being the kicker.
I want to be a kicker.
Oh, so okay, so you got the big guys, and then, but you're still director of overall operation for performance. So what? How does that differ? So what's the weight room workout look like for them? And then let's talk about some of the other skill guys, receivers, backs, some of those
Right.
type of guys?
So what we'll do is, basically on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that will be the days that we go in and lift in the weight room. We'll start off out on the field. We'll do a dynamic warm-up with the entire team, and then I'll immediately
Dynamic warm-up, what's that?
just a movement-based warm-up. But not
Okay.
going to be like standing in place and stretching. Everything we're going to be doing is going to be movement-oriented. We want to
Mhm.
start off with movement, get the heart rate up.
Like high knees, that kind of thing?
Exactly.
Just
High
kinda-
knees,
yeah.
butt kicks, crossover running,
Mhm.
do a lot of sprint technique work, teaching the guys how to
Starts, and yeah.
generate force into the ground, basically. Not so much the technique of the start, but teaching them how to generate force in the ground. We'll do some skipping and some jumping, just very light plyometric stuff or light jump training, just to kind of get their central nervous system firing before
Right.
they step out into the weight room or step out on the field to do more advanced work. So we'll finish up with a dynamic warm-up. I'll take the big guys straight up into the weight room. We want to go ahead and get them going in the weight room right away. So on a Monday, we'll do a dynamic effort lower body movement. So what that means is we'll use a sub-maximal load, a less than maximal load, and we'll try to move the weight as fast as we can. We've got these machines called Tendo units, and we attach them to the bar. The faster the bar moves, the better off we are with the guys. We're trying to get them to generate as much force as possible into the ground.
So what are the movements that you guys are generally looking to do?
Squatting and pressing movements predominantly. We
Mhm.
try to keep our program as simple as possible. Based off of us teaching our guys how to squat, teaching them how to press, we can manipulate the training variables so that for
Bench
that
press,
athlete-
shoulder press.
bench press, and squat, and that's it. We don't do any overhead pressing with our guys.
Is that
It's
for shoulder?
too much stress on the shoulder?
Uh-huh.
Way too much stress on the shoulder. So we just want to give them simple movements. Give them stuff they can't screw
What
up.
about
that
any
they can
pulling?
master.
What about any pulling movements?
Ton
Seems
of
like
pulling
you-
movements.
Okay.
Ton of pulling
So
movements. But
deadlifts, rows, pull-ups.
a little bit of deadlift stuff, but as far as the back work goes, we'll do pull-ups for our vertical pulls, and we'll do either some kind of horizontal row, like a bent over row,
Renegade
or machine
row type
rows,
thing, yeah.
or inverted pull-ups, which is kind of like a backwards bench press.
Mhm.
I don't know what y'all call them here, but we call them inverted pull-ups with our guys.
Mhm.
But a lot of pulling. We try to aim to have 1.5 to 2 times as many pulls as we do presses in our program, because kids, everybody, they all want to have a big bench press. The first thing when someone works out or they see a big guy, oh, what do you bench press?
Sure.
But I'm more interested in how many pull-ups can you do?
Right.
When our guys get into the program, we got the big guys. Like, oh, coach, I bench press 365. That's great. How many pull-ups can you do? And they look at me like I'm crazy. I said, well, go ahead and get up on that pull-up bar. Oh, you can't do one pull-up? That's fine. You're not going to do any bench press until you're able to pull up your own body weight.
Uh-huh.
Because you watch these athletes, they walk around and they all have a really bad anterior shoulder tilt.
Yeah.
And then we wonder after 2 years in a football program, when we're pressing them and beating the crap out of them on the football field, why it is that they've got shoulder problems.
Mhm.
What's wrong? Why do they have a rotator cuff problem? Why do they have a labrum problem? Well, because we've done nothing to balance their bodies out. They walk around completely unbalanced all the time.
What about soft tissue work? Do you guys get into
Ton
doing
of
a lot of that? Yeah.
We do a lot of, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are our aggressive recovery days. So we actually have foam rollers, and we'll take the guys through a whole foam roll progression. We have softballs, those types of things that we work with our guys. And some guys that need more work than others, we'll go ahead and get them. We have a trigger point kit in the weight room. We actually have 2 of them, and we'll utilize a trigger point kit on the guys in the weight room that really have specific needs. But
So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're doing the dynamic workouts,
Mhm.
and then Tuesday, Thursday, you're doing the recovery session, right?
That's correct.
Nice. And then weekends, play around?
Off.
Off.
Get away from us. We get
Yeah.
away from them. Let us recharge. Let them recharge, and we're back at it hard on Monday.
I like it. It sounds good. So how does it differ from the big guys to, wide receivers, corners,
Mhm.
people like that?
I think the biggest thing that you'd see a difference in is in the agility work that we do with the guys. My big guys are going to be doing completely different agility work. And when we say agility, it's basically individual periods. So we get with, like we were talking earlier, we get with those position coaches and we make our agility work look like their individual work. So we'll actually do the same drills that they'll do in individual period. I ask the coaches, give me 3 to 5 things you need these guys to be able to do August 4th when camp starts. And I want to be able to really harp on those things for 8 weeks in the summertime so that they're perfect when they walk in the door. And when we walk in the door camp, those 3 to 5 things that you say are the most key things: stance, start, change of direction, whatever it is for your individual position. If we can get those things right in the 8 weeks of the summer, that's just basically 3 to 4 weeks that they don't have to worry about trying to get those things right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. For me, listening to how you talk, that's the way that I also like to train, is when I have a specific goal in mind. And the challenge that I think a lot of us have, myself included, is that after you're done with competitive sports and you still want to stay in shape, you don't really know what you need to do anymore.
Right.
Like I'm playing a bunch of stuff, like we're going to probably play some volleyball today, but am I going to train for that? That seems a little silly, you know.
I train
guess.
every day for volleyball.
But
I hear there's a lot of shit talking that goes on with volleyball.
Frank already knows about the volleyball
You hopping in?
situation.
You
There's
hopping
been
in
some
here,
money
Frank?
exchanged. I'm not going to lie. There's been some money exchanged for whether I'm going to join the front of the house or back of the house.
That's hilarious. Well, we'll see. We'll find that out. But then there's also aesthetics, of course, but that just seems this like hollow kind of empty way to train things. So it's kind of a weird balance that I don't really have any answer for, and I don't expect you to either. But it's nice when you do have something concrete to do. And what I find is I'll just fixate on something even if it's not that important. Like, okay, my goal is to be able to perform well at this random thing. And it could actually be volleyball. I haven't decided to make it that. But if so, then it's deep into vertical training, core training, like shoulder rotation type of stuff. I take the heavy clubs and start working the basic mills for, you know, kind of the overheads, but really focusing on lift, because obviously the higher you get on the net, the more you can slam it down and make people run and squeal and things, which is really half the fun of volleyball.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's kind of my strategy, but I think it is important to have some kind of goal and some kind of thing like, this is what I'm really shooting for.
Yeah, I think one of the neatest things that we've seen with the evolution of the CrossFit Games, and there's more like the mud runs and those things, those can give you purpose. You know, when I first got done playing, I got into powerlifting and would go into powerlifting meets, and I really enjoyed that until I got hurt a couple times and said, okay, I need to find some other way to destroy my body, so let's go and do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
And so now I train jiu-jitsu at Reading Martial Arts in Denton, Texas. And
that must not be fun for anybody rolling with you.
you know, I've been told I'm a real pleasure to roll with. I don't know. They
a gentle giant.
a gentle giant, yeah. But you know, then you have competitions that you can get ready for.
Right.
On our staff, one of the things that we like to do is try to find little events. One of the guys on my staff is a former 82nd Airborne paratrooper, and we're getting to some of those Ranger runs and get as a staff and do a team event, and that gives us some goal, something to train for. So I think if you find something that you enjoy doing and you kind of have a goal in mind to prepare for, whether it be a competition or a group activity or something, I think that could be a good way to find self-motivation to push yourself and maybe even get some people around you to push you.
Yep, indeed. So you spent some time with our Chief Fitness Officer, Mark DeGrasse, wealth of knowledge in kind of the unconventional training methods. How do you see those being advantageous for training both athletes and the kind of casual athlete?
Yeah, I think for working with athletes, general physical preparedness is so important, and we've gotten away from that because everything in our country anymore is now just specific preparation for sport. How can we make this exercise or this workout the most sport specific it can be? And there's got to be downtime for athletes. They've got to be able to pull away from their sport. And now kids got baseball year round, football year round, basketball year round. There's got to be a time where we can kind of pull away. I think, you know, when you and I were coming up, probably played 4 or 5 different sports when you were growing up. Played baseball, played basketball, played football, ran track. So there was a break in between, and one of those sports that you played served as general physical preparation for one of the other ones. And the one that you ended up being the best at is kind of what you focused on. Anymore, you know, you got a 5-year-old kid and dad says, oh, you know, he's a football player. He's going to go be a football player. And that's all he plays for the rest of his life. And you start looking at football players today, you know, when we were growing up and watching guys like Joe Montana and Jerry Rice play, they played in their late 30s. You get a guy now, you know, 28, 29, 30 years old. He's in the twilight of his career. And that's incredible. But I think a lot of that is because of the high burnout rate. We're starting these kids off so young. And you're seeing a lot more injuries with guys. Guys in some of these bigger football conferences are having a hard time making the transition from college to pros because they're just so beat up because it's such a year-round event. And so I think that one of the things that we need to do is learn general fitness, and those activities, the kettlebell swings and the club bells, can really teach those athletes and provide them some general fitness, while not focusing so much on their sport. I think that's important. And then as far as just the regular weekend warrior or the regular just person looking for fitness, it's just fun ways to get your body moving instead of just always going into the gym and it's 3 sets of 10 of this and, you know, 3 sets of 10 of that. Don't worry about that stuff anymore. Get your body moving. Get some flow going. Get out there and try some different things, really challenge yourself. And I think that's kind of the fun part of the unconventional fitness, just being able to get out there and do some unique, fun, different things and move your bodies in different ways that you wouldn't be able to if you didn't have that.
Yeah, you know, I definitely find that that's incredibly valuable. And one of the other things that's enjoyable about it is you're learning a skill. Like it's not like when you're benching or squatting where it's at a certain point, once you figure out how to do it, there's not a big skill component. It's just pure workload.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with kettlebells, you're always kind of refining and tweaking and getting better at certain techniques, improving your flexibility, your form. Same with the maces and the clubs, innovating different movements. We just innovated a new type of mace swing that I really enjoy, and that was something that came out of a meeting, a week ago, and I've been implementing that. And just the breadth of what you're able to do keeps it fresh and keeps it exciting. Whereas now when I travel and I got to go to a gym that doesn't have any of that, I'm kind of bummed out because I got to go straight. There's no candy in the workout. I just got to go straight into the old-fashioned stuff rather than playing around with the toys for 20 minutes and getting loose and getting a sweat before jumping into some of the other stuff as well. So yeah, that certainly makes a lot of sense. How about with the let's talk a little bit about the nutrition, and I know you guys are pretty hamstrung and limited as far as what you guys can do to the players. So talk a little bit about that nonsense and what you guys try to do to get around it.
Yeah, we're pretty limited, one, with budget, and that's always going to be an issue with some of the mid-major schools, or you're going to have to deal with working around budgetary constraints. But the NCAA is also, getting a lot of attention right now because of the restrictions is how much you can feed athletes and what you can feed them. Those things are starting to change, and that some rules have just come down. It's not going to help us much because we're not going to be able to have the budget to provide meals for every meal for the guys. I mean, ideally, you'd like to get them at least 3 good meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then supplement with some snacks going throughout the day, 2 or 3 different snacks throughout the day. So at least at a minimum, they're eating at least 5 times a day, getting fuel in their body.
So some of the coaches from University of Texas came through, and they were explaining to me that they could serve their players bagels, but not cream cheese or lox or anything that goes on the bagels.
And that just changed this year. But it was ridiculous. We could give them bagels, fruit, and nuts. The NCAA determined that bagels, fruits, and nuts were not a meal. That was a snack. But as soon as you put peanut butter or cream cheese on the bagel, it became a meal. So you could give them peanuts, but no peanut butter. You can give them fruit, but no fruit spread. Fortunately, that rule has changed, and that's something they said has been in the works for a long time. It's just, at the end of the day, for me, it's common sense. What's best for our athletes? And I think a lot of times that's the argument that gets left out. What is best for these kids? There's a lot of people making a lot of money on these kids, me included. I make a good salary. I put a roof over my head, put food in my belly every day because of the work of these kids that I love dearly. And what's the best for them? And that's a part of the argument that I think gets lost because we're so worried about legislation and rules and those kinds of things. But getting back to your original question, as far as nutrition goes, education is so important, and I think that's lacking. Kids have no idea. We do a little quiz with our guys when we talk to them about nutrition and just basic things. List 6 foods that are protein-rich foods that you like to eat. List 6 foods that are carbohydrate-based foods that you like to eat. List 6 foods that are nutrient-dense foods, fruits and vegetables that you like to eat. And some of the answers we get are absolutely incredible. I mean, I got spaghetti as a protein, once. They don't understand. They have no concept. Physical education in this country is take a lap now. So there's really no basis for teaching our kids.
And even if they did, the information is antiquated.
It is. Or there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. I mean, look at the food pyramid. The basis of the food pyramid is grains and whole wheat, and we know that that's not really the best thing for our kids or anybody to be eating. Those kinds of diets are detrimental.
And avoiding fats is another one of these huge myths that is extremely detrimental. Lumping all salt into the same category, from that bullshit table salt, sodium chloride, versus a natural Himalayan salt, which has great value, or sea salt. So many things have been tweaked out of proportion that it's just pretty wild. The difference between like a raw dairy, like a raw cheese and a regular cheese, that's one tweak that I've made, and for people at home listening, if you get an opportunity to switch your cheese from regular processed pasteurized cheese to a raw cheese, you will be shocked at how much better you feel. Because the raw cheese keeps all of those enzymes and those natural parts of the dairy intact, so you're not going to have any of the GI issues. You're not going to have that intense slowdown that you get from eating the cheese. Not that you should eat just bricks of it at a time, but it's a huge, dramatic difference. Same with milk. It's even more difficult to get raw milk, possible in some areas. But little tweaks like that make a dramatic, ginormous difference in both performance and just general how you feel.
Absolutely. So educating our guys has been the biggest thing that we've tried to do with them, and then providing them with maxing out the bagels, fruits, and nuts, and we're able to provide them with a little shake bar that we have where we give them a post-workout nutrition shake, and they can kind of pick what they want in there. We've got some cookies and some peanut butter and some bananas that they can go ahead
Can you
and
get
throw
some
in the
hemp
shake.
force in there? What's up?
We'd love to. We'd
All
love
right.
to. Yeah,
Make that happen.
absolutely.
Speaking to that, I got the privilege to go walk through the Green Bay Packers locker room and into their little dining area. And I started cracking up because everything is labeled. It's like, this is protein. Protein is good for muscle recovery. Like blah, blah, blah. Like this is
like a cartoon character with
milk.
milk.
Totally. It's like really, really broken down to the basics. And obviously they wouldn't have that if these guys were super educated and, like I don't need to label my own kitchen that,
Yeah.
But it was just funny to see that, and these guys aren't stupid guys. They're just, that hasn't been really part of their world and their educational process, despite the fact that they're some of the most elite athletes in the world.
Yeah.
Really interesting to see that it extends even all the way, to that level. And I'll hear AJ talking about guys who still, it's just mac and cheese and hot dogs.
Oh yeah. I have a friend that works for the Cowboys who said one of their guys, he'll eat Doritos and Chinese food at 2:00 in the morning, and that's all the food he'll eat in a day. And that's a elite level NFL player. It just blows your mind.
Yeah, and then you just wonder what that person could do if they got on a proper, earth-grown nutrient diet, how much better they would be. Some people would say that, see, you don't need to even worry about it. Look at that guy. Well, okay, so he has a lot of talent and gifts and drive and things that allow him to do that. But what could that same person be if he took it to the next level with nutrition? And that's the question.
Yeah, if they optimize those things, how much better could they be? Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We saw it with there was a track athlete that we work with, Jermaine Brown, and he's a great sprinter, has great coaching out of Jamaica. And one of his main meals was to go to McDonald's and eat what he called hot and spicies. He'd eat these 99-cent hot and spicy, chicken sandwiches. And so we talked to him about that, and gave him some shit, and gave him a bunch of product and shakes and the bars, the Warrior bars and things. And after being on that for a couple months, he shaved like a huge amount of time, for a track athlete, off of his time, and got one of the fastest times in the world in the 200 meters after that. And it's so the nutrition, certainly has an effect on performance, and that's even before we start talking about supplementation, which is the next step. I mean, the most important thing, get your nutrition right.
Yeah.
But then you're never going to get it perfect, and there's going to be things that you can tweak to get even better, and that's where the supplementation comes in.
I think it's funny that you bring that up because we always have camps and clinics and open houses and things, and parents will always come up to me, oh, you're the strength coach. My son needs to gain weight. What supplement does he need to be on? And the very first thing I always ask, do you eat breakfast? Because, well, no, he doesn't eat breakfast. Okay, well, there's the first thing you need to supplement your diet with is
Breakfast.
eating breakfast. Because you eat at 6 o'clock at night, and then you go to bed, and you don't eat anything again until 12 or 1 o'clock. I mean, you're going on an 18-hour fast and trying to fuel your body for school and for practice and for social activity. You don't stand a chance.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. But when it does come time to supplementation, obviously you're rocking the Onnit shirt there, so we must have been doing something you like. So talk to us a little bit about your supplementation philosophy.
Yeah, as far as that goes, just like you were talking about, you want to go whole foods first, and I try to have my diet be comprised of whole foods, and then supplement with like the TPC vitamin pack, the Total Primate Care vitamin pack. I love that. I start and end my day with that every day, and that's real important. The Alpha Brain is something that I add because that's obviously not something that I can get just from a normal diet.
Nope.
And then, for my snacks, I like taking the hemp force shakes and having those available, or the Tonka bars. Now they're the Warrior bars. They're a little bit bigger, but having those available, just some low-carb snacks that I can have throughout the day to just kind of bridge the gap between my meals.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Well, if you had some tips, maybe top tip or top 2 tips to give to people who are just listening, listening at home, how they can improve their performance in whatever they're doing. Presume they are, like Orlando here, a co-ed recreational sport superstar.
Let's put the star in there.
Yeah. So what's a tip that you would give Orlando from working with all the athletes?
Yeah, I would encourage all the people out there to really work on learning your body, understand how your body works, because then at that point you can start making good informed decisions about what you need to do from a training standpoint. Once you understand how your body works and the way that your body is going to perform to certain different training stressors, then you can kind of start to create the program that you need and not just run around and randomly bounce around. Oh, I want to do this program. I want to do that program. This worked. That didn't work. Well, if you really understand what's going on when you do those things and you have an understanding, and it doesn't need to be a degree in kinesiology, but just have a very basic understanding of your physiology and how it works and what training is going to do what to your body, understanding energy systems, just basic things like that can help you make informed choices about what you're going to do from a training standpoint. And so that would be the first thing that I would really encourage people to do. And then find great people to surround yourself with for fitness. I mean, it's really hard to go at it alone. It really is. I don't think that there's a lot of people that can go out there, go to the gym or go to the park and do the training that they need to do day in and day out and do it at a high level. You got to find great people to surround yourself with, not only to motivate you,
or just find a place where there's a girl in the vicinity.
Absolutely.
That seems to work great for me.
Always.
Or a guy,
Always.
You know, if you're a girl. Or
Frank, did you see me work out today?
I did. I was motivated the whole time.
That was way harder than I work out usually just because there's a girl around. It changes everything. No, it really does change everything.
Yeah, totally.
It changes everything.
But it's so good for you to be able
How
to
did I
motivate
not know there was a girl
else,
working
too.
out in the gym? Someone needed to inform me of that.
No,
I need a memo.
You gotta get a little light in here and flash.
Yeah.
It. There's females in the
What's
gym.
up with that? What's up with that
Bat
webcam?
signal. It's coming.
The
That
bat
was such a
signal. I
fake
love
out.
it.
We were gonna have a live webcam at the Onnit gym all the time. No, I think those are really good points to make. And one thing, speaking to that point, looking at my own body now as I'm starting to really analyze and care less about the things that I used to care, aesthetics and all these different things. I started to look at what was going on, and I'd have a lot of front delt issues and a lot of tension up in my traps. And I started to work with some different people and look, and I realized that although I stretch a bit, one thing I never stretch or never work on is my pec muscles, period, ever, at all, under any circumstances, other than like go give a couple of these, like move my arms around a little bit. And I started to doing some soft tissue work to that and realized that my pecs, actually just them being so tight, because I got a strong back, I do pull-ups and ropes and shit all the time, but them being so tight was really kind of rotating everything forward, which was causing a lot of other, physiological, kinesiological issues. And then so actually just getting in there and loosening up those fibers allowed me to have better posture, and then which took stress off my muscles and just ends up giving not only better performance, but better quality of life.
Absolutely.
From doing that. So looking at your body and saying, okay, it's not just about how much can I press or how many pull-ups can I do. What else is missing? And for me, it was, I'm just never stretching that muscle. I'm causing it contract. Okay, warm up slightly and then contract. Never doing anything to kind of lengthen and stretch it out. So I think that's one thing, and same story for my hips in certain areas, really getting in there and starting to do some work. Changes not only pressure on my low back, but referred issues that, kind of start to affect your entire body.
Yep, absolutely. The most pain I've ever been in, we started doing some foam roll stuff a couple years ago and put that softball on my pec and started rolling around just
Holy
finding
shit.
knots. My
Yeah.
God. I squeal like a little girl when I hit that knot. But then you start realizing, man, I really had a lot of gunk just bunched up in my muscles, and it was, just like you said, affecting your neck, or you're stressed out, you start squeezing your traps more, and you're walking around like that, or if you're in the weight room with the gorillas like I am, you're always on guard because you never know which one of them's going to jump out at you. So but it's just one of those things where, again, listen to your body, understand your body, because your body's constantly speaking to you. I think we've kind of started to drone that out. We listen to so much music and watch so much TV that we stop looking internally and stop listening to our bodies. We need to do that, because I try to get our athletes to do that all the time. Interesting story. We had a kid a couple years ago, low energy levels. He's falling out of workouts all the time. And I have a philosophy where if you can't make it, you can't make it. Just get out. But I'm not one of these guys that's going to push a kid and call him a pussy or any of that shit and try to get him back into the room, because that's when people get hurt. You hear a lot of these kids, they die during sessions, and it's never an excuse for that to happen. And so, long story short, turned out the kid had been hemorrhaging blood in his feces for months. 6 months he'd been doing this, and he was running on like basically 5 liters of blood. And here's a kid, average human is running about 11, 12 liters.
Holy
so he's basically, his blood was about 50% level. So you think about his oxygen uptake when he's trying to exercise aerobically, which the aerobic system, the oxidative system, is the basis for all the other systems. Even though football is really not
all the shroom tech sport in the world is not going to
help that.
oxygen
And
back.
you think about if you had pushed that kid, but he didn't want to listen to his body. I mean, when he saw that, what are you doing? So we tell our kids, look at your urine. Look at your shit. What's going on with your body? And it's funny, they kind of get a kick out of it. But the fact of the matter is, we've had a couple kids come forward and say, hey, this is what's going on. What's my body telling me? And
Coach, it burns when I pee. Like, go to the nurse.
Penicillin.
That's what ended up. What was the cause for that? Why did that kid?
He had bleeding ulcers in his stomach.
Wow.
And he was also anemic. And so we had to get all kinds of other treatments for him, and then he ended up quitting. But
Wow.
But it's just one of those things that it was a real wake up for me as a coach to realize that these kids, again, just what we're talking about, you're not looking at your body, you're not listening to your body, and when you're able to do that and really hear what's going on, you can make good informed decisions about what you need to do, just like you did with your pecs.
Yeah, well, I got to keep doing it is the thing, though. You do it like once, like, man, that hurt and it sucked. Yeah, let's just fuck it through there, And that's just sticking with it and having that kind of discipline and austerity to just do that every day.
Absolutely.
Is important. Well, man, it's been a pleasure having you out and
Absolutely.
getting to know you a little bit, getting to know your philosophy, and we look forward to doing more stuff, and anything that we can do to help out you or the program, just let us know.
We certainly appreciate it and proud to be on it.
Hell yeah. All right, how can people get in touch with you if they want to? Do you have any social media or any other ways besides your personal email?
You can follow me on Facebook, just Frank Wintrich on Facebook. Look me up. Also, we have a North Texas Football Performance Facebook page where we update with pictures and stories and videos and things that our guys are doing, and so that's a good way to follow us as well.
Beautiful. You gonna play volleyball today?
Absolutely.
Let's fucking do it.
Let's roll.
All right. See you guys in a few days. Who we got coming up, Lando?
We got TJ Dillashaw on the verge
Uh-oh,
of
Killashaw.
his bantamweight title fight, and we got Brian Cushing of the Texans coming in.
Oh,
Boy.
shit.
He blushed a
Lando's
little.
So
Did you see
excited. Somebody's got a crush.
It's an athletic crush.
All right. Much love on it, family. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate
Thank
that,
you.
man.